Good to go.
Hey, thanks. All right, how's that? Better? Wow, okay, all right. So I just want to welcome everybody to the Gilbert Lipschitz Memorial Lectureship, and Jackie is here in attendance, Gil's widow. Gil was a gastroenterologist here, one of my partners, and he was an amazing, outstanding physician, not only in his knowledge of gastroenterology, but just his clinical skills, his humanism, and just the way he connected with people. His name is outside on the list of outstanding teachers here, at least twice, so he was well known here. And when he died suddenly and unexpectedly at 50, we had a big loss within our community. So it was out of that we decided to create this lectureship in his honor. And this lectureship really has a specific focus, not to really look at gastroenterology types of things, but to look at the humanities, the ethics, and the skills of creating a really good physician and provider. So this year we're really honored to welcome Dr. Robert Orman, and Rob is actually being re-welcomed back into our community because he has been a Providence provider in the past. Rob originally hails from Colorado, and he went on to Emory University where he got his medical degree, came back to Colorado and worked at Denver Health and Hospitals where he went into emergency medicine and was the chief resident. He worked briefly in Colorado, but then moved to Oregon to start to raise his family. He's married to Melissa Orman, who is a physician in ER medicine here at our facility for many years. And Rob worked at Prov St. Vincent's for about 12 years, from 2000 to 2012. Now, during the time that he was an ER physician, he also started getting into podcasting, and he started MRAP, which was a monthly podcast focused on skills and issues of importance for ER physicians. And over the time he started that, he got up to 30,000 different subscribers. Starting in 2011, Rob became the host and co-producers of Essentials of Emergency Medicine, which is the most widely attended emergency medicine course in the world. And in 2012, Rob became the creator and the producer of ERcast, which is another podcast that focuses on monthly emergency medicine issues with trends in emergency medicine, consultant reviews, literature reviews, and currently has over 3 million downloads. I need to make a note to myself to figure out how to increase the number of people on my Instagram account from over 100. If you can help me with that, that'd be great. So in his spare time, he helped launch the primary care reviews and perspectives that are also hosted on the Hippo Education platform. If you've never heard one of Rod's podcasts, and I really recommend all of you make the effort to do so, Rob always takes a deep dive into a topic with a sharp mind and an entertaining approach. It's a lot of fun to listen to. There's really a fabulous mix of both humor, wisdom, and pragmatism. So you always get something out of it that's very, very valuable. Topics and guests are from across the spectrum of medicine. It's not just emergency room medicine. And these things are relevant to almost all the specialties and people who listen to it. So today we're really in for a treat because you don't have to put in any earbuds to listen to Rob. We get to have him in person. And he's here to share valuable insights from his experience, extensive interactions with many leaders in the field of medicine and outside of medicine who are professionals in their field. And this is going to help us improve our skill set to take care of patients and ourselves. So we really want to welcome Rob Orman.
All right. How am I coming through? Any distortion over here? It's a little hunkily-dunkly there. No, put it down there. Thank you, Mike. That's hard to live up to. So, some expectations here, some qualifiers for this. The beautiful thing is there's no facts here, so you don't have to remember anything. And absolutely, I do not want to tell you what to do. I just want you to think about what you do. That's it. Don't remember. You know what? Don't remember any of this. This is just to create a spark for you to think. And Dr. Hayes and I were chatting a minute ago, and he was asking me a question that I had no idea was the answer to, which I find is my natural state. Because I am not an expert really in anything, except asking questions. That's And that's now my job, which is awesome. And this whole talk today is really asking questions about one event, which was extremely stressful. It's like an existential crisis. I mean, I feel myself welling up because it was so horrible when it happened. And I woke up at 3 a.m. a couple years ago. And this was after a string of shifts. I work in the emergency department, where 90% of what I had done over this string of shifts was working the system. Working the system, all the stuff around patient care that we love, right? All that other stuff. The process of medicine. And what woke me up was this thought in my head, my voice, that the process felt like it had become my purpose. That carrying that weight was my purpose. Now, I still did patient care, right? That little golden nugget that we all love, that we all do. But the process felt like it was overwhelming. What do I mean by the process? I mean being an EMR jockey. So in emergency medicine, we have 4,000 mouse clicks a shift. That, I imagine there's some administrators here, but from our perspective, feeling like we're at the whim of administrators who sometimes have no idea what we do. That there's the ever-present specter of lawsuits, and everything that we do, like, I kind of got to protect myself from that. The process, feeling like you're a cog in the wheel. Personally, sometimes it's like all the energy you can muster. And that can lead to burnout, can lead to worse. And I felt like when the process becomes the purpose of what you do, you're transformed in a negative way. But it's not permanent. I don't think it's permanent. But here's the thing about all of that, is that the system will not adjust to what you need right now. It's not going to adjust. And that parallels the message of this whole talk, is that there are things we cannot immediately change about the process of medicine. Over the long term, sure you can. But immediately, you can't. But the thing that you can immediately change is your mindset. And it's not like this is going to be the only time you ever hear about tools on how to do this, right? Like, we get emails about all these tools about, like, oh yeah, here you go, here's do yoga, go to this seminar, here you go, here's wellness, right? Yes. Now off you go do your work. You have wellness. Is that me making that distortion? So what I want to do, rather than saying, like, here's your wellness package, just go off and prosper, is talk about a very specific tactic, an actionable tactic, strategy, which is pregame, which is cultivating a mindset that you want. I don't know what that is for you, but cultivating that so that you can operate at peak performance or the level that you want to. And it's not like this presentation is the first time that this has ever been presented to the world. If you go back 100 years, Marcel Proust said this: the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Oh, okay, well, maybe that's kind of a modern idea. A couple hundred years before that, Martha Washington, also a philosopher, the greater part of our happiness or misery depends upon our dispositions and not upon our circumstances. It's like, oh, you know what? That's just kind of like a dandy modern platitude. Let's go back thousands of years to Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, philosopher, who said this: external things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them, which you can erase right now. Now, of course, we still work within the system with all these processes, but these all tie into this idea that there's things that you cannot immediately change about the process of medicine, but we can change our mindset. And when I present this to physicians, it kind of makes them uncomfortable. And they think, I'm above all that. I'm a freaking doctor, man. My mindset, it's perfect. It's perfect. But let me challenge you with just the opposite. That cultivating a particular mindset is a tool that we do not use enough. And one reason I think that is that we're grinders. We grind it out. We just grind it out. In college, right? You're grinding it out. Maybe you might not have been grinding it out in college, right? But let's go to med school. Okay, med school, you're grinding it out for sure. Residency, you're grinding it out. As an attending, you're grinding it out. I guarantee you, to this day, you will not finish the day without finishing all your documentation. You will stay late, you will be tired, and sometimes you feel like you are a shadow of your former self. We are grinders. ¿Quién es más macho? We are más macho. We are grinders. And we rarely stop to think about how we think about our job, how we think about our mindset. Now, that sounds like this very ethereal thing, like, oh, it's just like mindset just floating here. So let's break down a teeny tiny little sliver, a tiny little leaf of what we do in a day, a patient interaction that I think of as a micro pregame, micro mindset cultivation. And a colleague told me about this years ago, changed my career, and it takes 3 seconds. Can I have a volunteer, please, Dr. Powell? That's not actually how you volunteer. That's more of a selection. More of a selection. All right. And how old are you, sir?
38.
38. And what are your hobbies?
I like to keep bees.
Keep bees. Okay, here we go. So, this is my patient right here. What is it? What's a beekeeper called?
A beekeeper.
No. There's like a Latin name for it. What is it? Beekeeper.
Apiary.
Beekeeper. Okay. All right. So here's my patient. Here's my patient right here. My amateur beekeeper, or maybe even pro. Who's to say? Okay. Now I've just finished my evaluation of him. I'm here dictating my charts. 38-year-old beekeeper presents to the emergency department after eating rancid honey. He has been vomiting for weeks, and now here you go. Patient was given Haldol intramuscularly during his emergency department course, and feeling much better now. And now you do your thing here.
Thanks, Doc.
Okay, yep. So patient will follow up with his primary care doctor next week. All right, I'm all done. We can go see the next patient. All right, next. Here we go. This is a 38-year-old beekeeper who presents to the emergency department after eating some rancid honey. Patient has been vomiting for weeks, and patient was given Zofran, ODT, and is feeling much better. Patient given a pre-pack. Hang on one sec. Let me just finish what I'm doing here. Patient discharged, follow-up primary care. Yes, you were saying?
Just thanks very much. I appreciate your help.
Hey, you're welcome. It was a pleasure caring for you today. Hope you feel better.
Thanks.
Say hi to those bees.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, let's give it up for our volunteer. Now look at that. That's a farce, isn't it? That whole thing. And let's just break down those 2 interactions. The first one, talk to the hand. How did that feel? Talk to the hand.
Off-putting.
Off-putting, yeah. You're invalidated. It's just, and when I ignore that, it's just, I'm probably a little lesser as well. So let's just look at an example of what that looks like in another realm. You guys know Kesha, the singer? You guys know Kesha. Yeah, okay. She loved Jerry Seinfeld. Do you know Jerry Seinfeld? Sorry, You guys know Jerry Seinfeld. So he's a comedian, and she was super appreciative of his comedy. She's like, oh my God, we're at the same event together. I just want to give you a hug. I want to give you a hug. She got interaction number 1.
Give you a hug.
No, thanks.
Please?
No, thanks.
A little one.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Yeah, that's how that feels. Now, number 2, okay? So number 2, how did that feel when I And I'm not even saying like fake, but just, and when I came up and shook your hand.
Yeah, I appreciated when you stood up and looked at me and said goodbye.
Yeah. It's a little moment of exultation for both of us when that's validated. Here's how that feels. It feels so good. Oh, hey, thanks for that Haldol. You're welcome for that Haldol. Let's give a hug it out. Yes. There are extremes of emotion, and it's just a little snap. So before each shift, I think this or I write this. I hope you can read my handwriting. I am open to accepting gratitude for my patients. I'm open to accepting gratitude for my patients. The first time I thought that, I thought, this is dumb. This is weird. The first time I wrote it, I thought, this is the new age nonsense. I cannot believe it. But it worked. And it was this whole new world opened up. And it just takes a pause out of that day of just sympathetic activation and just a little bit of positivity injected. And it still feels kind of new agey, actually, when I do it. But here's the thing. It's simple. It's free. Free 90 free, no tax. And there are no negative side effects. None. But for us, the grinders, we are professional grinders. We really just don't think about this stuff. We just kind of get up, we go, we do this every day. We're amazing at it. But we're high-level performers. I mean, I was listening to some conversations out there about juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and this case and that case. I was like, what? It was just incredible. And then, quality review, and we are extremely high-level performers, but we are outliers. We are outliers because we actually don't prepare like most other high-level performers. For example, I have a friend who he's a doc now, but he was an actor. He was on Broadway. He was in movies. You've probably seen some of his movies if you're into B movies. And before he would go on stage, his dressing room door was closed for 30 minutes. And if you open that door, so I'm told, it would not go well for you. Because he was getting into character, he was preparing, he was shifting from his outside self to whoever this character was, just an actor. What about in sports? Yes, preparing, right, mentally preparing. Focus. Maybe even a little anger. What works for him? I kind of hate you other guys. What about this guy, Usain Bolt? Known for big, boisterous movement. He's usually joking, hugging people, laughing, just getting his body going. What happens when those two guys do their pregame? They go and win gold medals. And the kind of the beauty of all that is you saw Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt, both maybe best of all time in their field. It's all different, right? What they do is different. It's just whatever works for them. But what about for us? I was talking before, we rarely think about this. And I was interviewing this guy. That's a pediatric surgeon from the United Kingdom, Ross Fisher. And we started talking about how he prepares for a day, pediatric surgeon, working on these tiny neonates. And just kind of the floodgates opened. He pulled both sluice-gate arms, and it flowed out. And I think that this really describes our reality.
It struck me how badly I am allowed to prepare for doing some big shit. And that immediately before doing the big stuff, I can have someone in my ear bitching at me that the discharge summary isn't written, and somebody telling me that I need to do this, and somebody asking me why I haven't done that, 5 minutes before I start operating on a 500-gram neonate. Whereas the actor, who is just performing, strutting their arm upon the stage, has a door closed. Nobody is allowed in to disturb them in any way, and they are allowed to center themselves and get themselves in the position where they can perform perfectly. And you guys, it's even worse. You can be standing there about to receive the major trauma patient, and somebody will come through from the other side with an ECG, or some surgeon is bitching that you haven't done the CT scan, and your focus is suddenly thrown. And I am intrigued at how we are elite performers, and we have to be, but we have a lot of things affecting our performance in a way that if you actually, I don't know, go to court or turn around to one of those other elite performers and said, you know, when you're getting yourself in the game before you putt for $3 million and you're trying to get yourself covered, I am getting battered the whole time. And that's putting me off my game. And I think medicine has got something that it needs to learn from that. We do not respect the performers and get them into a position to perform as well as they might do, and yet they do.
And yet we do, right? And yet we do. Until we don't. We rarely pregame. Why? Talked about it earlier. Because we're grinders, the best. We're pros. I think also because we just accept that we exist in the tumult of medicine. It's not tumultuous. It's just, that's just our world. Because we're so damn busy, we just think, I don't have time for any of that. But really, I think it's just not part of our culture. It's just not something we do. Athletes do, actors do. We just don't. So, let's explore different ways that it is done by doctors who do it. And I want to start off with this guy. That's Mike Weinstock in Ohio. And I put him first just to not have anybody feel bad if they're not doing this. Because he is, I think, the poster child for how we as physicians interact with preparing for our day.
This is the confessions of a total lame ass loser to you, because the fact is I don't pregame. I just don't. So more often than not, I would be in the pool with the kids and run into the shower and take the fastest shower I've ever taken, run into the car, drive a little faster than I should have on the way to work, and get there either exactly when the shift's starting or maybe 30 seconds after. That seems to me that switching a task from hanging out with my kids to working is easily the same thing as switching from seeing a low-risk chest pain to seeing a trauma arrest. I'm just not a pregamer.
Yeah, I can thank my wife for saying put that one in first, because she said, you're going to put all this high concept stuff in there. Nobody actually does this. Thank you, Mike Weinstock. Let's talk about this guy, Clay Smith from Vanderbilt, who on his way to work feels a lot of anxiety. So how does he manage that? And I'll tell you, just to preface this, I don't know that his way is necessarily the most healthy way.
I guess my pregame is I like to think about other things, think about the news and think about non-work related things and relax and drink coffee and chill, and then I show up and I'm ready to go.
What do you feel like that chill, that NPR time does for you?
It takes my mind off work, and that's good for me, because I guess I could get a little anxious if I'm thinking too much about work.
What's the anxiety about? Is it about certain things about work? Is it about all of your responsibilities?
There's always a feeling of, can I actually do this? What if there's something that comes in that I can't handle? I go into each shift kind of feeling like, oh crap, I hope I can do this today.
Yeah, that's his mindset when he's going into work. It's, oh God, I hope I can do this. And actually, I felt that way for the first 10 years of my career. I'd be like, oh God, and just suppress that feeling until I could get to work like, okay, I'm doing it. Well, it turns out I actually know how to do it. But just that anxiety. And you think, all right, I listen to that guy, he probably kind of sucks, He's not very smart. Who would feel they're not up to the task after all that training? That guy is triple boarded in internal medicine, pediatrics, and emergency medicine, triple boarded, and still feels that way. I just need to suppress that anxiety. And we're friends, so I feel comfortable revealing all that. And I wish that Clay had, and I wish that I had when I was a resident or even a medical student, met this guy. Some of you may know him. That is Josh Russell, young guy. He's in his 30s, but really a student of all of this. And at this point is where the lecture kind of changes, like, oh God, man, what are we doing here? We're just in this pit of despair. He's kind of a scholar of this. He's a doc, and we're going to hear a couple of different things that he does in preparation for his day to set the tone for what we'll hear next. The first thing are his elements of preparation.
The elements of preparation, really, I break into two categories. One is, how do I get my brain in a place that it's going to perform optimally from a cognitive performance standpoint? And secondly, how do I deal with the mental and emotional aspects of practice, and more importantly, keeping the emotions that are going to have ill effects on my ability to rationally approach patient care?
So cognitive, emotional preparation, what does that look like? On his way to work, he listens to medical podcasts or medical education. Why does he do that? Did he wake up, or does he wake up every morning having forgotten all of the medicine he ever learned? Like, oh God, I better bone up on this. I mean, it's going to be horrible when I get to work. Of course not. He's getting himself in a medical thinking mindset, right? He's kind of got the rest of his life here. And then when we're here, when we're in the hospital, we just think differently. And also before he leaves for the day, he does 5 to 10 minutes of super high intensity exercise. Very short, very intense, burpees, push-ups, kettlebells. Why does he do that?
This is because it makes me feel good, so I do it for subjective reasons, although there have been several studies that show that immediately after exercising, your cognitive performance improves both in short-term memory and your ability to have what's called cognitive inhibition, which is your ability to tune out the noise and focus on the signal, which is arguably one of the most important parts of our job.
Can you guys hear these okay? Am I hearing them? Okay. Yeah, cognitive inhibition, separating the wheat from the chaff, the signal from the noise, I'd say a pretty important part of our job. And when he gets to the hospital, he has a ritual. And we're going to hear a bit about rituals coming up. So why have, like, what's the power of a ritual? Anyone can holler out if they want. It's like Ferris Bueller. Comfort, absolutely comfort. Thank you. Control. You are not in control of everything that happens in your day, no matter how much of a control freak you are. And so many of us are, right? So the ritual. So Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player, arguably, of all time, before each game would put on these crappy North Carolina Tar Heel undershorts over his under his Chicago Bulls shorts. Why did he do that? I mean, he could afford new shorts. That was his ritual to have a sense of control over what was about to happen. Here's Josh's.
So I meditate for 2 minutes in my car as soon as I park my car. I do a simple breathing exercise. It's sort of like box breathing, but it's more or less just giving mindfulness to the sensation of air moving over my philtrum as I breathe in and out slowly. And then I spend the second minute visualizing what I would do step by step in one critical procedure.
Then I think, oh, okay, like I can say, I got to exercise, listen to podcasts, and like do this ritual. It all seems very complex, you know? It's like, okay, that works for him. Takes a little while, but what about something that takes a tenth of a second? This is Sabrina Adams, and her ritual, she's an ER doc, is the ritual of the Bafford. I had never heard this term until she told me about it. And she has that on her license plate, Bafford. It stands for badass effing ER doctor. She has the ritual of the Bafford, which in a tenth of a second gives her the mental set point that she wants.
Every day I go to work, that's the first thing I see. It's a good reminder of what I do, and gives me motivation to definitely be a badass doctor and do my best to take care of my patients, and I love it.
Mizuho Morrison. So that's what Sabrina does as she's getting into her car. This is Mizuho. She's a doc in LA. As she's driving to work, she goes through, every time, 3 steps of a mental exercise.
I get nervous before a shift. I don't know why. I think it's the not knowing what could come through the door. And so I got in the habit in those early years of being a fresh young attending of kind of going through a mental thought process, typically on the drive to work, and just sort of admitting and agreeing, like, am I nervous? I am. I'm a little nervous, and that's okay. I think it's a healthy respect for the illnesses you're about to see and the diseases you're going to see. And honestly, I think it keeps you humble. But then you have to remind yourself you are capable. You are well-trained, and you've never really had a case that you didn't know what to do. You may have had a crazy case come through the door, but you'll figure it out, right? Despite our various handicaps, depending on where you're working, it's going to be okay. You will figure it out just like you've always done, and you sort of take things one step at a time. The third thing I often would remind myself is that this is a privilege to be a physician. I mean, it's a privilege to be in a position to help people, which sounds so cheesy. Like, this is not a medical school essay, but really we are doing what we're doing because we have a heart to care for those that are dying and sick.
Yeah. Are there any GI docs in the audience? Yeah. Are there any GI docs who love being GI hospitalist? Why are there no hands up? Yeah. Why? Why don't you love it? Is it maybe because you can't control everything and it's just like overwhelming? But then do you have any control over not having control? Maybe as you're driving to work thinking, all right, I realize that I think this sucks and I'm going to be okay and I have the skills to deal with it. I've had many conversations with my friend over here about being GI hospitalist. All right, now that's very high concept stuff, right? Okay, I go through these 3 mental exercises, but I see a lot of you doing the ritual that she does before work, and it is a ritual, even though it's something that you probably just do reflexively.
Venti iced coffee, unsweetened, with a drizzle of cream. If I miss that step, if I don't have my humongous iced coffee going to work, it can ruin me.
Yeah, it can. Jamie Hope, 10 years in to her career, she was burnt to a crisp. She was so burnt out, she's like, I think I want to just leave medicine. The process was just too much. All of the administrative tasks, having to do all the online computer modules, like, hey, there's this great new thing with Epic every week. And she felt like she was renting her job and living in a dilapidated, crappy house with beer-soaked carpets, and just think back to college, whatever that was. That's how she felt about her job. And it's like, well, no wonder. I'd like to just stop right now because that was just perfect. Although that actually, that's kind of, what's go great. It's kind of, what's going on in there? So, but then she felt, why would I think that way? I actually worked hard for this. I own this job. I own it. I want it to be awesome. So as she is preparing for her day, that's what she thinks. I own this.
A lot of times you feel like things are being done to you. Here's another new initiative. Now we have to ask you about Ebola. Now we have this new patient satisfaction thing. Now we have 5 more mandatories, which is some computer online bullshit quiz that we have to take about fire safety and how to use the fire alarm. And so many times we feel like this stuff is being done to us. You can get into that renter mentality. And that's so if you're renting a house, people aren't as gentle with it. You're making more holes in the wall, you're spilling shit on the carpet, and you're like, well, whatever, it's not my problem. But when you are truly the owner of your career, you want it to be amazing. You're going to take care of your own house because you paid for it. You put a lot of time into it. And so to really take that on as your career, yes, some other things are going to happen. You're going to have to do some repairs and maintenance, but it's just a completely different level of satisfaction. I want to be satisfied with my job. Damn it, I worked really hard to get here.
Wow, what a great point. Hey, did anyone get med school or nursing school for free? In here? Oh, did anyone get to do it in like a week? No, it took time and money and a lot of work and your soul. Now let's take, that's, kind of a complex meditation. Let's get something really simple about just getting to work in general. This is Dr. Ran. He's an intensivist at OHSU. He splits his time between the ICU and the emergency department. High stakes, high stress job. For him, it's how he gets to work. That's his pregame.
I always bike to work, and that's like my most zen part of the day. I feel invigorated from the bike ride, and then I just feel fresh and ready to go. That's my coffee.
I asked him to send a picture. I said, hey, send me just a picture of your bike. He's like, the bike is that way. I was like, yeah, Ran. He's an awesome guy. Joe DuBose, he is a trauma vascular surgeon. He's at shock trauma. He's also a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. And he walks to work. Wherever he is, he walks to work. And it's not like it's 10 miles. It's 5-10 minutes. And I asked him, I said, do you listen to music when you walk to work? To kind of get in the mbop there? He said, no. It has to be absolute silence, and I cannot walk with anyone else. It just has to be me. And here's why.
It gives me time to collect my thoughts for the day, project those things that I know I'm going to have to face and the things that I might have to face. And the wonderful thing that we have at the institution I work is we have a morning report where we talk about some of the cases that happened the night before and how things could have been managed differently or better or opportunities for improvement. And I think that really helps me turn on that switch to prepare for the day and maybe face those same challenges when it's my turn to be in the shift during the day.
That's Dr. Lou Silverio. She is a doc. She's an artist. That's her self-portrait. I said, send me a picture of you. That's what she sent. That's what she actually looks like. And her ritual is to get to work 15 minutes early every day. 15 minutes early. And when I was talking to her about this, she said, if I don't, the day is horrible. It feels like grinding rocks and just nothing works. And if I do get to work 15 minutes early to do her ritual, which you hear about in a second, everything runs smoothly. And it's like, wait, is that just random? That things run smoothly when I get 15 minutes early and they don't when I just am there at the last minute? I don't think it's random. I think there's something to it. And here's what she does.
I do get to work 15 minutes early, and I use this time wisely. I say hi to everybody and have some chit chat with whoever's around. Those 15 minutes are incredibly valuable, especially because during the shift, I can get tunnel vision and very end games focused. I lose perspective of the people I'm working with. If I've taken the time ahead of the shift to catch up, check in, and make some jokes, I found that I have a little bit more leeway if I'm, quote, more directive, unquote. Having those 15 minutes ahead of time for shifts to talk to people and to evaluate my resuscitation bays is 100% necessary for me.
This is Dan McCullum. And he apologized for making a beard shirt continuum. He said, the beard shirt's all I have. It's like the best picture I have. He starts his day with the ritual of the 5-minute journal, which is it's like an intention journal. Essentially, you write down, okay, here's 3 things that would make today great. And you think about that, it's like, I don't want to do that. But really, if you could plan out things that would make your day great, and maybe they'll happen, maybe they won't, but at least improve the odds of it, would that be better than just kind of going into the random gamish of whatever you have going on? I think it probably would. And also in this, you write down things that you're grateful for. We were having a moment of gratitude there earlier. Just a little bit of injection of positivity, maybe a little dopamine surge.
So the 5-minute journal has a morning and evening section where you basically reflect on things that you're thankful for, develop a personal mantra, and reflect back on great things that happened each day and ways to improve for the next day. I strongly recommend it. I'm not a journal guy at all, as in I've tried journaling multiple prior times, and it just never has worked for me. For some reason, the very short duration and guided direction of this 5-minute journal is far superior to anything I've done in the past.
Yeah, I'm grateful for curbside consults. Thanks, everybody. Reuben Strayer. Now, if you're in the back, that hat may be upsetting. But I think it's medically appropriate and not too political. Reuben, very bright guy, but also, admittedly, like kind of ADD, right? He's just very distracted, kind of this and that, and rushing about. And he thought, I don't know that that's working for me. So he tried to change things.
The most important way I mentally prepare for a shift is by practicing mindfulness, which is to say being aware of what my brain is doing to my mood and my performance. This is a skill that is cultivated slowly with lots of practice, and I'm not very good at it, but I'm a whole lot better at it than I was a few years ago. It's funny, my mind is always wandering, and I'm so easily distracted, and for my whole life, I thought I was unique in this way, that my mind is special, and that my wandering mind is a sign of my creativity and my intelligence. And then I got exposed to mindfulness and meditation, and trying to do it, I learned firstly that everyone is like this, that there is nothing at all special or unique about my mind wandering, and that this is in fact not a strength, but a huge weakness. And the question that you learn to ask when you try and fail repeatedly to meditate is, who is in control? Am I in control, or is my brain in control? And with practice, you slowly learn to take back some control of your mental space from your brain. And your mental space is everything. So the mental preparation is not like a game day ritual, it's daily mindfulness practice. I try to do 5 minutes per day, and half the time I can't even do that, but work in progress. I think I'm on the right path in that regard.
Yeah, meditation. Is there any, if you feel comfortable raising your hand, by show of hands, anyone in the room have a meditation practice or meditate? Wait, the hands are, it went up like this. This? Yes, why do you do it? Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I do 10 minutes on workday mornings. And I hadn't even realized that was a ritual, but that's a ritual I have. I get a coffee's being made, I sit down, and I just breathe for 10 minutes.
And how does that affect your day?
It just helps me sort of settle before I get going pre-charting on Epic.
Yeah.
So it just helps me kind of just be ready for that onslaught of messages and inboxes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just settle. I mean, who don't want to feel settled before that day? Can help you rather than react. We have so many stimuli coming in the day. I mean, a lot of more than you even realize. We usually just react to it. Sometimes those reactions aren't so good. Meditation also helps you to think about it. What's going on? And then respond how you want to rather than reacting. Settle. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Big round of applause. All right. So that's Reubens. It's like I know him, and he's much quirkier than, yes, I meditate. I cultivate mindfulness. Here is his ritual, which is actually much more akin to his personality. And it has to do with his workspace. And in the emergency department, your workspace it's like this sacred shrine that is violated repeatedly. But he has figured out the hack to protect it.
I stake a claim to my workstation, and I do everything I can to optimize that workspace to suit my needs so I can be maximally productive. I do this firstly by replacing the workstation keyboard with my own, which is a vastly better keyboard on which I can type much faster and with many fewer errors, which is a huge win over the course of a shift, because even when I have a scribe, which is not all the time, I am essentially paid to type on my keyboard. But also, the keyboard I have has no letters on it. All the keys are blank, so most people can't use it. So the keyboard serves as a sort of moat, keeping everyone off my property.
Oh, I wish I could have recorded that response for Reuben. Yeah, he's making a little bit of a moat. Oh, man. Salim Rezai. He's a doc in San Antonio, deeply involved in medical education. He's on Twitter and Instagram and doing emails and this and that and moving around kind of in that distracted state. And one day he thought, is that working for me as I go into my shift? Not really.
At least 1 to 2 hours prior to a shift, I get off all social media and email. I basically am not looking at any of this stuff. And the reason is because you usually get emails or you'll see something on social media to have some kind of deadline or something you have to answer. And whether we realize it or not, these are things that we carry with us subconsciously. We're always thinking about it. So when you get to work, You don't have your complete undivided attention focused on patient care. The second thing is I'll drink a huge glass of water, usually about 12 or 20 ounces before I go in. And the reason is because one of my big vices is I just love Pepsi Max and caffeine. And I know that's not a good thing, but I try and battle the dehydration that comes with the caffeinated beverages. I also like to do a little mini workout before I go into work. And it's nothing crazy. It's just 20 push-ups and 20 crunches. I do that 3 to 4 times. The whole thing doesn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes. But it really kind of gets the blood flowing and really helps me personally clear my mind.
So we've heard a lot of examples of how people pregame. The I don't do it, suppress anxiety, the Bafford, 2-minute meditation, admitting and agreeing, I own it, bike to work, walk to work, 15 minutes early, 5-minute journal, the moat, and then just get off social media. Get off email. I'd say, if you're on Facebook at work, it's not like an admonition, but think about as you're doing it, why am I doing this? What am I really doing? And I gave this talk at St. V's yesterday, and someone pointed out something which I thought was so telling. What do you think is the average age of all these people? It's not 60, probably 40. It's 40. And there's one guy in the upper left-hand corner who's 55. What's his pregame? I'm a grinder, baby. I don't do it. And it was an interesting conversation because they're young, does that invalidate what they say? I don't think so. I think they are growing up in a different system than we older doctors did and think, how do I prepare for this? Because they recognize this. The system's not going to adjust to what they need. There's things they can't change immediately about the process of medicine, but they can change their mindset. And now I want to arc back to the beginning of this talk. I woke up at 3 a.m. with this existential crisis that the process had become my purpose in medicine. And I will tell you, the overwhelming emotion that I felt was that resentment about all of the nonsense. I thought, wait, all of that other stuff is actually not in my sphere of control. I have no control over that stuff, but I do have control about what I'm thinking about my job. It's like, all right, how do I fix this? How do I fix whatever the error code is in me? Well, first off, what is the opposite of resentment? Gratitude. Yeah, gratitude. Okay, that's easy. It's like, here you go. Gratitude. Great respect. You're gracious. Now, no burnout. It doesn't work that way. What's going to work? How do I cultivate that? And this, what I'm going to tell you, this is just what works for me, what I figured out as kind of the brain hack of how to feel gratitude for what I'm about to do rather than resentment. How do I turn around 180 degrees? So the first thing I needed to do or need to do is change my physiologic state. If I'm feeling resentful, I am sympathetic. I'm full-on lizard brain. I can crush a rock. I'm not receptive to anything except, like, I don't know, eating a raw gazelle leg. Weird, disgusting. I don't even know where that came from. It's just what popped into my head. No filter. I need to change that to a parasympathetic state. I need to really be able to think about and feel what's coming next. So I do breathing cycles, breathing exercise, and I do this 4 times. We'll just do it once. We'll do it together. I breathe in for 4, I hold for 8, and I breathe out for 8. So. ER4, I'm feeling you, baby. Grateful for you, ER4. So let's breathe in for 4. Breathe in for 4. Here we go. In for 4. Hold for 8. And slowly breathe out for 8. Just one cycle of that is calming. I mean, I feel calmer. And you might feel calmer. So now in a receptive state or an open state, to think about things that I am grateful for. And for me, it was 3 things. my teachers, my skills, and then what I get to do in the job. For the teachers, I think about one specific person. It's someone different each time, and actually a couple of them in this room. Mike, Adam, Francis, Nancy. There's so many docs in here that have taught me things. And I think, visualize Mike Phillips. Thank you so much for teaching me about the criteria to diagnose pancreatitis. That was really helpful. And in my mind, shake hands. This is surreal that I'm doing it in real life. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for that. It's not just the lipase, as it turns out. Fantastic. Yeah, it's not. Second, I think about my skill. As an emergency physician, I can walk into a room, say sick, not sick. If you're sick, what do I need to do to keep you from dying? Whoa! Think about the rest of the world and what they're doing. That is outrageous. It gives me chills just thinking about it. Wait, that's the opposite of resentment. I'm feeling superhuman. And then I think about what I actually get to do, which is care for another person. Wow. I mean, that is different than most transactional relationships that people have in their jobs. Where, you're selling out coffee. Here's coffee, here's some money. I'm going to buy a car. There's a little car, here's a little money. Yes, there's a transaction. But what we do is interwoven in the tapestry of that person's life. I mean, we care for another human being. How fantastic. Think about my teachers, my skills, and that we care for others. I get to care for others, and it's just transformative. It doesn't last like the whole day. I get a little crusty as the time goes on. Maybe soft inside, but crusty on the outside like a day-old muffin. But here's the thing with all that. This is all kind of, everybody's happy at the hippie fest, or I don't know, whatever it is. It's all very, kind of positive. It's beautiful. But sometimes things go south. I guarantee you, if you are involved in medicine, bad things will happen, and they will stack on top of each other, and that's just how it is. That's the nature of what we do. You'll have a complication, and then a complaint, and then a this, and you're getting battered with all this stuff, and you still need to do the job. You still need to do it. And so, sometimes when I'm driving to work, I listen to 2 minutes from Jocko Willink. He was a commander in the Navy SEALs, and kind of like a macho dude, a little bit macho. And first time I heard this, I was like, that's kind of macho. But then I thought, that made me feel a certain way that I can apply to when I'm feeling overwhelmed in a shift. That trauma's coming in and I'm feeling downtrodden. Well, there's only one guy that's going to take care of it. And here's what I play in my mind when that happens.
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on. And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good. And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem. And he said, I already know what you're going to say. And I said, well, what am I going to say? He said, you're going to say good. He said, that's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, yeah. When things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well, then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
This is not an easy job, working in this place or any place like it. And the system's not going to adjust to what you need right now. Jocko will tell you that too. There's things that you cannot change right now, but you can change. We can change our mindset. Many examples of it today. And now, most of you are about to go to work, go see patients. You're going to do that today, you're going to do it tomorrow, you're going to do it for the next weeks, next month, and you're going to actually prepare for work each day. And think about what you do as you're preparing. I can't tell you what the answer is for you or what's going to work for you. Maybe try different things and say, what is the state of mind that I want to operate at a peak level, to have peak performance, to actually feel more joy in what I do? Is it funny? Is it serious? Is it Jocko? Is it push-ups? Is it drinking a lot of water? I don't know. Only you know. So I wish you good luck, and I thank you for your hospitality.